Hey there, darlings. Welcome back to the Farmer's Table. My name is Jess, and these are some rolls I made. I actually just grabbed the camera to document taking my first fresh milled flour rolls out of the oven. I put them in and set my timer and ran and jumped in the shower, which I typically don't like to do that while I'm baking because I am kind of historically somewhat distractible, but I made sure I just kept reminding myself, you have rolls in the oven, you have rolls in the oven, be fast. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this, and I am going to let myself be a guinea pig publicly. It's not my favorite thing to do, I'll be honest, but I am curious to see how this goes, and I have high hopes. So, I have not eaten gluten in, let's see, it's been about 3 years now since I cut it out. I think, is that right? It's all running together. I feel like I just moved to South Carolina like 3 weeks ago, and it's actually been 3.5 years. So I got really sick a few years ago, and I did like a really intense elimination diet. I actually went fully carnivore for a while, and then I've done a couple of different elimination diets for periods of time. But the big thing was, in the short of it, without giving you like my medical records, I have an autoimmune disorder issue that I've had for a long time that was misdiagnosed, that led to a lot of antibiotic use, that led to a lot of gut damage. And what ended up really helping me was to do a real elimination diet and remove anything inflammatory from my diet. So I went a couple of years without eating like sugar, dairy, gluten, and of course I'm not trying to just like bring things back to a level that's going to cause issues. And I'm really maintaining that I primarily still eat a pretty anti-inflammatory diet. But I have been steadily kind of introducing things back. And this will be the first time that I've actually eaten bread in like a while. Now, I should note, I'm not celiac. I do not have an actual allergy to gluten. It was just that I was having inflammation issues because of damage to my gut due to antibiotics. I see a lot of people talking about like sourdough and fresh milled flour, and a lot of claims get made being like, yeah, people who have issues with gluten can sometimes eat this stuff. And that is true. Like, if you have a gluten sensitivity for whatever reason, a lot of times if you have a gluten sensitivity, it's actually reacting to like the pesticides that get commonly sprayed on wheat, or maybe you have inflammation issues and like gut issues, and any sort of, you know, gluten at all is going to cause you inflammation. But it's not actually an allergy. If you have celiac, if you actually have an allergy to gluten, it doesn't matter how long you ferment sourdough or how fresh the grains are, they'll still make you have a reaction. I've never had that. I've been tested for celiac and never had it. I just had the kind of situation where my joints hurt a lot, and I dealt with a lot of the symptoms of gluten intolerance, and when I cut it out, it eliminated my inflammation a lot. So that's why I've done it. So I've never had to be like so vigilant that like things couldn't touch. If I ever accidentally like got a sauce that maybe had like trace amounts of wheat or gluten in it, it wouldn't cause a lot of issues. At the beginning, when I was still kind of like very reactive and sick, I could definitely tell through inflammation, like my joints would hurt really bad. But it's gotten significantly better as my gut is healed over time. And I've been able to bring some dairy back. I can't go overboard on anything, but I've been able to bring some dairy back into my diet, and I am now going to try this. I'm not going to eat this whole thing. I'm just going to try it, and then I'll tell you about this. All right, check it out. So the thing with fresh milled flour, which, let me just eat this and enjoy this, and I'll tell you about it afterwards. Well, that's delicious for one. I'm probably partial anyway, just because I haven't eaten a roll in so long. But the flavor is really good. It's intense. It's very like wheat flavored. You know how sometimes you'll eat bread and it tastes more like this sugar that they put in it or whatever. It doesn't have like a wheat flavor. This is really strong wheat flavor. The texture is also great. So with fresh milled flour, what you do is you actually take like wheat berries. Here I've had to put a label in it. I couldn't find my label gun. Hard red and soft white. I did half and half for this. And here is my grain mill. This is my birthday present. My birthday is actually, what, next week? And I got this in and I got to open it early, which I was really excited about. I've had a blender, like my blender has a canister that will grind wheat, and I have ground grains some with that. I did it a lot more like many years ago, and the thing is like baking with fresh milled grains is kind of a whole different animal from baking with conventional flour. And it does have a lot of benefits. I've read a lot about it. I've heard people talk a lot about it. I do get the benefits. It just always felt a little bit on the fussier side for me, and I was like, I don't know. Admittedly, like, learning new things for me is either deeply addictive and I get so fixed on it and I love learning all the things I want to learn, all the information, or it's extremely daunting. Like, sometimes I just have a hard time like not knowing how to do something. I don't like being bad at stuff. And so for years I've been like, yeah, one day I'll start milling grain. I've actually bought wheat berries because they store for a really long time. It's a really good way to have like emergency food storage. Whereas flour, because it's completely milled, and then white flour, processed flour that's not whole wheat, is sifted with like the germ removed because that helps it store longer without going rancid. But in doing that, you lose some of the nutritional value. And I knew all of that information, but it was just like, I don't know that I really want to tackle that. And then we went gluten-free, which was fine, you know, like I have honestly not terribly missed bread. My kids were asking me the other morning, they're like, Mom, because I got this in, and they're like, are you going to be able to eat bread? And I'm like, I don't know yet. I think I probably will be able to. I may watch this video back after editing it if I have some sort of like gastrointestinal distress or like really bad inflammation and be like, you fool, why did you do that? But I don't think so. Like I said, dairy has come back without causing issues, whereas 2 years ago I could not tolerate dairy at all. So my body is healing. And I think given this avenue, I actually think that it's going to be okay. But I joined a Facebook group, and I've just been collecting information, comparing it to the experiences I've had. Again, I have done fresh milled flour before using that blender, but it was limited in what it was able to do as far as textures and different things like that. And so I decided to just tackle it. I love, especially during wintertime, when I'm not really tied up with the garden, I love finding new things that I can like tackle and skills that I can learn when I actually have the time to really go deep into it. And my mill came in day before yesterday. Yesterday, I attempted to make a few things, but I made some silly mistakes and they did not turn out very well. So today is the first day. I mean, these are very much edible. They're very delicious. The texture is very good, and I feel great about it. So I want to tell you where I learned this from. There's lots of resources using fresh milled flour. I think it's wonderful whenever many people teach the same thing, because we're going to resonate with different people. We're so diverse. Humans are so diverse, and with different learning styles, some teachers are just going to be more effective in teaching you personally. And that's why I don't have like, here's the end all be all resource for any topic. I can just tell you who clicked the best with me. And I found a woman blog, her website, and I followed her recipe on this. Her name is Monique Bell, and I believe she has a YouTube channel also. I'm gonna link her YouTube channel. Her website and her YouTube channel is called Lovely Bell Bakes, and she does a lot of content on fresh milled grains. And so I actually followed her very thorough tutorial on her website. Have these beautiful rolls, which honestly look just like hers. See, look, there's Monique. Hi, Monique. I don't know her, so this will be an introduction. If you all go over to her YouTube channel and say hello, that will be my introduction to her introduction to me, I guess I should say. I've been staring at her face for the last day looking at this. Here's her rolls, and here are my rolls. I would say it worked, don't you think? I did the 60-minute roll recipe with egg. So she had multiple options of how you could do these. Like, you could do like a longer process. There was egg, without egg. She had lots of different options, but I would say these are really, really good. I'm gonna exercise some self-control and not just gobble up this, you know, I could probably knock out a good quarter of that pan happily, but I am gonna let this process because this is the first bread that I've eaten in a while, and I want to make sure it's not actually gonna make me sick. You know, I made sourdough very regularly for a good while, and when I went gluten-free, I kind of stopped with that. I ended up moving over to the bread machine. I just make my kids sandwich bread in the bread machine, and that's just easier for me to manage because in not eating bread, it was just kind of hard to do a lot with it. But I really wanted to pick back up with keeping sourdough going. I am of the mind that any homemade bread is going to be significantly better for your body than just continually buying store-bought bread, because there's just a lot of added ingredients in a lot of things at the store. And also, store-bought bread, especially if you're trying to buy like better brands that don't have as much added stuff, even the good brands have stuff added to it, it's just expensive. An exception I have found, Aldi has a sourdough bread. This is just very basic ingredients. I feel pretty good about that one. There are a couple, just like different stores that have options. But some stores I go in, and if I don't want a bunch of like cruddy ingredients in my bread, I have to pay like $7 or $8 for a loaf. I have a lot of kids. I mean, they can knock out a loaf of bread just making like sandwiches for school, or if they make toast in the morning, or when they get home from school, if they grab some for a snack. I mean, we can easily eat a loaf of bread in a day. So that's very expensive. That's if we were to do that daily, I mean, we're looking at $40-ish a week just on the bread. So obviously, it's beneficial for us to make that at home. And I've shown videos of making just like plain sandwich bread, and then also talking about the bread machine. But I'm really wanting to kind of get back into the sourdough. So right here, these are just rising. So this is just a plain white flour sourdough loaf that is on its initial rise. That won't be ready to bake until like dinner time tonight. And now I'm experimenting with the fresh milled flour. You can see significantly less rise on that one. I don't really know it. I feel like I'm having to like relearn concepts that are extremely familiar to me, like going all the way back to the beginning and starting from scratch. It's a fun challenge, but so here's my regular sourdough starter, which I bulked this up a lot. I'm making quite a bit of starter. I just fed this, so when this fills up, it'll be about to the top. And I'm going to start baking now. One of the things that I do in December is for Christmas gifts, I'll give like goodie baskets to some of our local friends and family. And so I've got like vanilla extract that I made a year ago, and I'm about to do some like herb salts, and I've got jams that I made throughout the year, and preserved things that I've had. I make extra throughout the year, like when I make jellies when berries are in season and different things like that. And then at Christmas time, I just put together like goodie baskets of handmade stuff to give to people. And I usually put a loaf of some sort of bread. And this year I'm planning on doing like a round sourdough loaf in each one of my baskets. Because I put fresh baked stuff in it, I personally do not aim to like give all of the baskets in one weekend. To me, it's still a Christmas basket if I give it in the month of December. So I'll just bake and like deliver baskets throughout a couple week period with Christmas goodies in them. Because if you get it at Christmas time, that still feels like a gift. This is interesting though. I fed the sourdough starter with the fresh milled flour, and it's just the half soft white and half hard red wheat. I fed it at the same time as I fed the other one, and that one's hardly risen, and this one is already doubled in just a couple of hours. So I don't know. If you've got anybody that you're following, that you're really clicking with, that's teaching fresh milled sourdough, you know, I'd love resources. I've ordered Sue Becker's book, and of course I really like what Monique's posting and sharing. So I've been kind of like steadily working my way through her videos and just gathering the information, and also being willing to make a mess. I've destroyed my kitchen yesterday playing with fresh milled flour, and at the end I really didn't have a whole lot to show for it, which I don't love that. Like, I don't love making a big mess and not having dinner done, but it's okay. I'm learning a lot, and today I got the rolls done right, okay? Hey y'all, what's up? it's been a few days since the first half of this video. I'm in my kitchen right now and I'm separating out some egg yolks from whites because I'm making a big batch of eggnog, which I do make a batch before Thanksgiving, and then I usually make one for Christmas too. So I shared this recipe last year. So I showed a video last year kind of showing an eggnog recipe with the aged eggnog. It's Alton Brown's recipe. I alter it just a little bit. But I will put a link to the video I made sharing a eggnog recipe, as well as to his if you want to make a grown-up eggnog. I wanted to follow up on the first half of this video, as I have been playing a little bit more with my fresh milled flour. I felt completely great after eating that. Prospect of being able to add bread products back in is awesome. The thing with the grain mill for me and my thinking was well, I'll try wheat and see if I can handle fresh milled wheat, but if not, with a grain mill you can also make a lot of gluten-free things. Anyway, it was fun to get to share it with y'all, and I look forward to sharing that process even more. If you have any resources that you are loving for that, if you have any experiences with fresh milled grain, especially if you have any experiences of being able to tolerate them after not doing great with gluten, I'd love to hear it. If you will leave comments down below. I'm gonna get on with this. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and all the days that you do. God bless you. Goodness, that is a very persistent egg white. Until next time.